Everything in the shot good? Yep. All right. Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Letterbuck.
That's right.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum and the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, both located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, we also got Shorty's Cowboy Hattery, some of the finest handmade hats in the business. Give old Shorty a call in Oklahoma City. She'll fix you up. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo historian himself, Jimbo Snively. Good morning, Jimbo. Where we at and who we talking to?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage, and we're almost still in Osage. We're at Mock Brothers Saddlery.
We're right on the line.
Just right on the line. One of the oldest, but probably is the oldest saddlery in Oklahoma.
Definitely.
Established
now,
1941.
Beaches are gone. And,
yeah, absolutely. And Cody, we got two of the greatest bareback riders to ever slip their hand in the rigging today. We've got Mr. Bob Logue, 9 times NFR bareback rider, runner-up to the world. And we've also got Bruce Ford, 5 times world champion, 19 times NFR champion, 19 times NFR qualifier, 4 times NFR champion. Truly one of the all-time greats, both of them. I mean, we're just really feel fortunate to get to sit down with them.
I think they wedge their hands in them riggings. I've actually tried to put my bare hand in a couple of them.
Right.
Made a guy mad for getting the oils off my hand on his rigging, but I couldn't even get my bare hand in one of those things one time.
I know, it's crazy. But anyway, well, guys, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
It's nice to be here.
Well, we're tickled to have you guys. How'd you guys get hooked up together?
Well, I'll tell you what, it started by him being an 18-year-old kid, and I was winning a rodeo. I think it was Filer, Idaho.
Yeah,
and,
you wasn't when I left, though.
And he ran and tackled me and said, I got the damp down. And I thought, well, what's the matter with this nutty kid?
Yeah.
But anyhow, we just become friends after that. And that year I'd seen him ride at Houston, Texas, and just blowed everybody away the way he rode. And I knew he was a winner, and I just we hit it off. We got the same aspects. We have competed against our brothers, very competitive, and 2 families that was brought up right.
Yeah. Where were you guys raised? Where were you raised?
I was raised in Colorado.
I was from Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, I was from Texas.
Sound like Bruce thought he could probably afford his part of the gas money after they left somewhere.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
There's been many a times where I had to write a check to the guy I was hauling with and tell him to hold that sucker for a couple of weeks for my part of the gas.
So how'd you get interested in rodeo?
Whew. Man, I don't know. I guess it started with gymkhanas and 4-H and FFA and all that, and I started getting on. I think first horse I got on, I was probably about 9 years old. So, getting on bucking horses, and
Did you always just do bareback?
No, I did everything. I was real good at bareback.
Right.
I was blessed. So, I was blessed until I wasn't.
Yeah, right. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Bruce?
Well, mine was about the same. I was involved in a pretty bad accident in 1961. A school bus was hit by the train, and our 14 children was killed. I was unconscious for like 5 days, and I was told, don't let him bump his head again. And what do I choose? Rodeo for a living. So,
Yeah, the roughest sport on you too, bareback riding, no doubt about it.
I was 8 years old at the time. I was 9 or 10, and I was runner up the world in Little Britches rodeo bareback riding. And I just everybody wanted me to wear a helmet when I rode, but my dad rode and my brother rode, and I wanted to do what they did. Of course, it was just jackpots and stuff. My dad was at, but they'd have them 2-year-old colts and stuff there, and we talked them in, Glenn and I, letting us get on them. And like Bob and I was talking, I think success comes from competing against your brothers. Look at Bob and Chuck Logue, Marvin and Mark Garrett, Bruce and Glenn Ford. We both, and the Kirby boys. Everybody, brothers, seemed like that was a pretty united deal and helpful.
Ed Bowers, the Wright boys.
Oh yes, sir.
yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of good riding brothers. The Hay boys and the saddle bronc riding.
Probably more in rough stock than timed events, isn't there? I mean,
Well, when you start thinking about it, there are a lot more successful brother combos in the rough stock events. It does seem like, there's quite a few timed eventers out there, but
unless you want a bulldog, and then you go to Chakota, Oklahoma.
right.
And go see Roy.
yeah, I bulldogged in high school, but now I just Chihuahua is what I call it anytime. I don't mess with that bulldogging anymore.
What made you guys settle on bareback riding as opposed to saddle? What's the different skill sets involved there, and why did you pick bareback riding?
I think it has to do with I like the playing football in high school. I wanted to be the guy that was hitting somebody.
Right.
It's the aggressiveness and you can let it all hang out.
Right.
Just let you can let it. You can do whatever you want to do on there. So, and just let her all go and show the world what you can do. So, and some of the other events maybe aren't like that.
Right.
I think that's what it was for me.
Yeah. What about you, Bruce?
Well, I'll tell you, when I started out, I entered bareback riding and bull riding. And 1 week I'd make a pretty good ride in the bareback riding and not so good in the bull riding. I said, man, I'm a bareback rider.
Yeah.
Next week I'd go and they'd buck me off in the bareback riding and I'd win the bull riding. I said, man, I'm a bull rider. Got to Benkelman, Nebraska. They bucked me off, hung me up, and drug me on the bull riding around that arena. I said, I am a bareback rider.
Definitely a
I ain't look
bareback
back.
Right. That's a good career decision.
I've always went on the philosophy, once they get too big to rope, I eat them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, was the bareback riding a lot different than it is today as far as the riggings and the style and everything?
There's quite a little change in the bareback rigging.
They really jam their hand in there now.
I think I was, how old was I when Daniel come to that school? Maybe 50-something.
I don't know.
I was like in 52 or 3.
Yeah.
And I never rode on them high-rise cut back riggings that they ride now. And I'd always rode with Raymond Hewlin or Pete Hennessy. And I always told Pete I'd like mine kind of flat because his was not high-rise like they did, but they was a little higher than usual. And finally I got to where I just love what Pete put on his rigging, John 3:16, and that sold me on it right there.
Yeah.
I started using Pete's riggings, and that just made a world.
We brought a rigging with us today that belonged to Buck Rutherford. Were yours similar to that?
The first one I used, that's what I was telling somebody. I went to Huron, South Dakota, And I was just a kid, and this boy that went with me had nothing to do with rodeo. He just went to be, I said, man, we're going to see a lot of girls there. We're going to do this and that. He's going to drive me. He drove me all the way. We never left the room all the time. And then the rodeo. But I was up first perf, and I had one of these, I call them rag riggings. I don't know what you want to call them. But and John Edwards had just rode, and he was one of my heroes. I thought he was great. Zip them old feet up there and them long legs and knees go past his ear. He had a big old knot on his arm where he'd broke his arm several times in the bareback riding. And I rode with one of these riggings, and I was winning something, and he said, boy, I like your rigging, kid. Mm-hmm. And thank you. I thought, boy, he really likes this thing. He was just telling me that because he thought maybe I wasn't going to break my arm. But anyhow, long story short, I wound up staying until the whole deal was gone, and I'd called home and told Dad I won fifth in the bareback riding, and he thought, wow, big deal, probably $30, and it was $200 and something, and first rodeo I'd ever been to, and he said, all right, it's never going to be a dead poor day anymore.
Yeah, right.
But that's my story on it.
So you were hooked after that.
Yeah.
What about you, Bob? How were your riggings?
Well, I started with a rigging just like that, a little rag rigging, and I rode with, I told you I was getting on my first horse when I was 9, and the first rawhide I ever rode with was the very first rodeo PRCA rodeo I entered. I entered Ardmore, and I went up to Bob Blackwood's, and I thought we'd get on he had a spur board there, and I'd get on that thing and see how that one of those whole hard handles worked. So he had what was that horse I had? He said, well, you need to put your rigging up here and you put it up on the shoulders and pull it down. And I thought, no, I'm not doing all that stuff. So I slid up there and got on, and ever since then I've had a hard handle. So it's I don't know.
Right. Well, but what do you think of the riggings today and the way they're?
They're not that much different than what me and Bruce were using. They're hold up a little taller. I think it can be easier on you, but it can also be harder on you too. So you get more whiplash on your neck and stuff. So if you let things get away from you.
You guys lasted so long. I can't imagine going to the final 19 times as a bareback rider, because that's one of the hardest events on your body. How did you tough that out in that kind of a grind for so long?
Well, it's being pain-free, I guess. I just ain't gonna say I was fortunate. I think the Lord had his hand on me, because I wasn't afraid to. I'd always pray before I got on. I didn't want to win, didn't pray to win. Lord, keep your hand on me. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sidelined maybe a month in all my entire career from being hurt. Mm-hmm. And Donnie Gay always used to say, you're going to get hurt. It ain't how bad it's winning, but it's how bad,
Right.
Yeah.
Growing up watching him all those years, with the national finals, we'd stay up. Remember when it used to come on like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, on ESPN 2 or whatever it was, and we'd stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And something that always kind of impressed me about Bruce Ford, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like he had a little bit better riding style for a longevity career. I didn't feel like he was hanging off the entire side of them like Marvin Garrett and those guys were doing coming up around that time. Felt like you stayed a little more square in the middle of them.
I think that was an important part, to track them with your shoulders and your hips and try to stay square like that, And
I felt like there was like Clint Corey and you and a few guys that really kind of stayed square on those horses when it was kind of getting to the time when they were definitely just laying off on one side of them and letting it all hang out.
That was kind of a whole new style too, but Bob Mayo, the style
started out before we did,
Mayo. And you can't take nothing away from that Marv. He's pretty juicy.
Oh no, I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I was just saying maybe your riding style helped you in the long run. And you looked really good on horses to me with that style too. I mean, the very best. So it just always struck me growing up, but you just had a little more. You stayed a little more in the middle of them than a lot of the guys did at the time.
That was all part of the theory. You need to have something just a little different than everybody, and whatever I had, it worked.
Yeah, yes, sir.
But I'll tell you, in reality, I'm going to testify about the toughest person I ever rode against is this guy right here. I've been challenged by a lot of people. I always my goal was to be 20,000 or so ahead of the next man, and I won what they call the PRCA championship in '78. And from that point on, I did have a pretty good lead when I went to finals. Except we got to Pendleton, Oregon, and I have no doubt in my mind Bob Logue would have been world champion that year had he not had the accident he had at Pendleton. He was within breathing distance of me, and I was just having my fingers crossed he wasn't going to pass me right quick. And I got to Pendleton. They said Bob had broke his neck. I felt terrible about it, but it cost him a world championship. I believe that 100%.
Growing up watching the Logues, something that always struck me is it looked like they were a little bit more stouter than the rest of the field. They wasn't like you, a lean, mean spurring machine. But the Logues, they had a lot of power. When they set their spurs, it looked like it was serious business in that neck.
Well, you're talking about my brother now. My brother, he
clubbed him, and this guy was fastest feet I ever knew.
Yeah,
Bob,
I had fast feet.
That Chuck would hurt him.
Like I said before, I was very, very, very blessed, and then that day in Pendleton, and I was very fortunate that I went to finals 5 times at that time, and then I was able to walk again. They told me I'd never walk again, and I was able to do that. I even went to finals 4 more times. So,
what happened that day at Pendleton, Bob?
Horse just came out. I came out of there backwards, and went down the chutes, and I hit somebody and knocked me and the horse both over. And I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I flipped out and landed with my hand on the ground, and I thought I did everything right, but horse just came over on top of me. It just God meant it to be. So that's the way it was. So it was a little bit tough that day. So they say I died in the arena, and I remember when it happened, but Jesus let me come back.
Wow.
There's been quite a few guys die at Pendleton, really.
Well, it used to be if you break your neck, you're dead.
Yeah. There was a lady bronc rider, broke her neck, died instantly at Pendleton. There was Mike Booth, the team roper. Heelan died at Pendleton.
It can be a scary place, but I don't know. I had the will to live, so he let me come back. So here I am.
Well, heck yeah!
I got to tell you a story on one of his comebacks. One year, we had went from Caldwell, Idaho to Spokane. Is that where Gene was from?
Yeah, I think so.
Stayed with some friends. Bob knew him well, and I growed to know him well. Gene Brooks and his wife, and we're gonna have to cost a good amount of money to get to where we was going to Missoula, Montana the next day. And of course, he didn't matter. He could fly for nothing. But he's with me. He's going to do what we're going to do. So I got in the deal, paper there, and I read and seen a motorcycle, Honda Goldwing for sale. I said, we got to have that, Bob. We went and bought this Honda Goldwing, and And Bob, he puts his rigging bag on one side. I put my rigging bag on one side. He's behind me, and I'm driving. And Bob, of course, well, when are you going to let me drive? Yeah, you can't even reach the ground with your legs, Bob. And finally we got somewhere, and I said, okay, you can drive. We didn't go 5 miles, and he had her laid over on the side. We were all laying out in the highway with our rigging bags folded up.
Trying to get them back up.
And,
Yeah, my legs was too short. I wouldn't.
and we got to Missoula, Montana, then where we were supposed to rodeo. Biggest redneck contractor in the world, Red's Kester.
Yeah,
We show up in the motorcycle. It was laughing stock for a while there, but we made it.
I was going to ask you about some of y'all's rodeo rigs through the years. There's one real good one
yeah,
right there.
Yeah, we had quite a few rigs. I was telling someone the other day I just bought this van. I was so excited about it, and I'd been driving, and I woke Bruce up, say, hey, you need to get up here and drive. So I get in the back, crawl in the back, and go to sleep. About that time, I feel a bump, and I wake up and look, and Bruce is right next to me. I said, who's driving this thing? He saw my hitchhiker. I pulled over, guy's a hitchhiker.
Yeah, perfect. Needed a swamper.
So I couldn't. I was so proud of that rig. So I couldn't sleep. It was bothering me. I'd lay back there and try to go to sleep. And every time he hit a bump, I'd wake back up. But after that time. We had a contest who could get the best hitchhiker tonight.
Yeah.
Did y'all do much flying?
Well, Bob did. He
Yeah,
did a lot
I
of
did,
flying.
yeah.
But, I did quite a little flying. I felt as if you could stay better on your body, keep your body, whatever it took, not to be wore out when you got there. I did a lot of flying, but
Now y'all didn't have a license yourself, or
oh
did
no,
you?
we didn't do
Yeah,
no
right.
little flying. I got in with a lot of little planes that I shouldn't have. I mean,
Right.
there's some near.
Well, I was
Fly
reading.
that one, remember?
Yeah.
The guy didn't know. The guy that was flying us, he didn't know how to fly.
That's always good.
Me and Bruce had to fly the plane.
Was that farm kid? I was reading about some farm kid you hired to fly you to Prescott.
Oh, that's exactly
it.
who it was.
That's
That's who it was.
But that's just one of many. I mean, these others wasn't accidents, but
That one stood out.
Sean Davis he was a good pilot and all, but we had a deal that we was going from Evanston to somewhere else, but the density altitude or something, you couldn't get off at in Evanston was going to Ellensburg, I think, and or we went from Ellensburg to Evanston, and me and Mickey Young was in there, and Mickey, he taxis it out there, like, and I thought, boy, this guy's not really letting this happen, letting Mickey drive this airplane. Anyhow, that was his big deal to be able to taxi it, and Sean took off, and we got so far, and he said, "It ain't gonna fly, boys." I said, "What?"
Yeah.
It ain't gonna fly. I said, "Mickey, we better get to doing some praying." And anyhow, he got it set down. We had to set it down in a kind of a pasture out there, but it just I dodged a bullet on that one on that deal.
We've talked to a lot of guys that their buddies were pilots, and we're thinking, oh my Lord, there's no way I'd get in a car with this guy, much less a damn airplane.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of crazy flying stories. I don't mind getting in those big planes, but I'm not getting in with a cowboy flying.
I don't know, man. I'd have to think about it for a minute anyway. We went over, you guys know Ben Ingham. He lives down in Sonora. He made the finals roping steers one time. I think he's married to Jim Bob Altiser's daughter.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, he has a little Piper Cub on his ranch down there. We're between rodeos, Pecos and Sonora down there or something. And he said, "Cody, you want to take off in my airplane? Go check it out." And I said, "Yeah, sure, Ben." He said, I've never had any problems flying it, but landing it, I've had a few problems. So, right off the bat, he goes and takes off and goes as high as he possibly can until the engine quits. And then we start floating back down, and the air pressure makes the propeller start again. And that's the last time I ever got an airplane with one of my old buddies, to be honest with you.
No. Crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody we talked to, they let he'd never flown before in his life, and the pilot got tired. The cowboy friend, I forget who it was, and he said, "You're going to have to take over for a little. I got to get some sleep." And he'd never flown at all. Of course, he had it on whatever cruise or whatever, but that was crazy.
I think that's just a cowboy deal. You can definitely sleep in the back most of the time of anything with anybody driving.
You can pretty much sleep,
You guys know Kirby, Barry, and...
yeah.
I know Kirby.
And there was another guy, I forget, that was traveling with Kirby, and I caught a ride from...
Hawkins?
It wasn't Pete. It was shoot. I know him, but I can't remember.
Jason Jeter.
Jason Jeter's who it was.
Yeah,
Jason
that's who it
Jeter and
was.
Kirby
Yeah.
Berry. I was working. Did y'all know Doug Dugan and those guys?
Oh
down
yeah,
there?
I know Doug.
I was working for Doug, and I was actually living with Robbie Vaquero at the time in Doug's place.
Yeah.
And gosh dang, when I was in their old van. I was really appreciative of driving, but they made me drive.
Oh no, they didn't make you.
Oh yeah. And the only time I've ever fell asleep driving was driving their old van, and I woke up in a great big median, a huge grassy median, that goes into a great big ditch in the bottom, and we're just loping through that thing. I jerked it back on the road, and Jason never woke up. Kirby woke up and punched me in the ear and told me I better wake up and drive this thing right. Then he went back to sleep in the back. I'm thinking, holy moly, these guys are crazy. Ain't no way I'd go back into sleep after someone about killed me.
I caught a ride with T.J. Walters and Corkhead, Rusty Riddle. This back when I think I'd been rodeoing a year or two, so I was. It was pretty neat to be traveling with big boys, So, and we're driving along, and Corkhead's driving, and he'd had a tea or two the night before, but he's driving, and he keeps easing over into the bar ditch, and then and as he do it, I'd reach and grab the deal and I'd bring it back like this. TJ said, "Oh, Bob, he wasn't going to stop you and wake you up so he could drive. He's just going to make sure you stayed in the middle of the ditch."
Growing up, I don't know how many old guys I was with, big time ropers, traveling with my dad. They were throwing beer bottles at the signs on the way by.
Yeah.
I thought that's just how you're supposed to travel. I didn't have any clue.
Well, did you guys have a favorite rodeo?
I think my favorite's Calgary.
You won that, didn't you?
Yeah. I think my favorite's Calgary. They had good bucking horses. What was your favorite rodeo, Bruce?
Well, I'd have to put Calgary up there as number one probably, but my hometown Greeley was
pretty good one. Yeah.
Good to me.
Yeah.
Cheyenne, Wyoming, I had to say it was treated me awful good.
Yeah.
So
Pendleton was probably my second favorite. I think I like Pendleton. That was a good Pendleton, and then Reno, I would think.
Did either one of y'all ever win Pendleton?
I didn't win Pendleton. I was 5 years after I broke my neck. It was the same year that Bill Severe passed away, and I almost won it that year. I kind of thought I should have won it, but my buddy won it, so I was all right with that. Lance Crump, so it is. But yeah, Pendleton's always been one of my favorite rodeos.
You never won it either, Bruce?
No, I won a pair of antelope boots for second. They give
Antelope boots?
Yeah, everything but the kitchen sink to the winners out there at Pendleton. But that was a pretty neat deal, and
That's
they won
cool.
what they call the Big Four, the rough stock
Yes, sir.
In
Yeah,
the
they got
Big Four.
Ellensburg, Pendleton,
Yeah,
maybe
I won
Walla
that,
Walla.
I won that twice, the Big Four.
That was so
Okay.
neat.
Yeah.
The Mick Whiteley deal.
Yeah, and the Mick Whiteley deal.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a good friend of ours that had died, got killed.
I bet it's a rush taking that victory lap at Pendleton, though. Holy moly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Something about that rodeo. It's
Yo,
a lot of Cowboys' favorite rodeo. I mean, it's one of the only ones that, you know,
Only
all the
thing-
Cowboys go sit out in the arena and watch the whole rodeo, you know?
I tell you, the bull riding is the best. They put up a little
Love it.
plexi fence or something.
Yeah,
and you're
PVC.
sitting out there watching.
Yeah.
Boy, here's the bull bested to it, and you just jump up and run. And
They just got it. They just got it held up by another pipe, just
Yeah.
standing there. I mean, you see them blowing in the wind, and all the Cowboys
Yeah.
are sitting around there. Even during the bronc ride,
That's
and
Western.
all the timed event guys are just sitting out in the arena, and the bucking horse will buck right through the middle of them. I mean,
I'll tell you what, that time event's pretty good watching too. They got to let them steers way out and turn back and stick the tongue out at the bulldoggers and ropers.
Yeah.
They get a head start on.
and then when they have them Indian dances, you know, in the middle of the rodeo, that
Yeah.
letter buck room gets pretty interesting right around
I've
that
heard
time.
that.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a lot of good memories from there that I don't remember, but other people do, Bob. Holy moly. I walked out of there and I thought it was like midnight one time. I said, God, it's got to be midnight. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, oh my God.
The best thing about Pendleton was Severe Saddle Shop, though.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
go up
Yeah.
there and play the guitar and sing all night long.
And they had a barracks up there, and I had my own room in there.
Yeah, oh yeah. If you had like you, treat you right. You
Yeah,
had just-
yeah. I was in the deal.
I went up there one time, and I remember that sign right above that stairway. It said,
Hotel the Cow Punch.
yep, Hotel de Cow Punch. Casey Tibbs brought it back from
Yeah.
France or
Yeah.
some crazy thing and hung it up there.
Yeah.
To me, that's just too good, man. I love that old rodeo stuff
Yes.
like that. It's just, it's too good to me.
Is it still like that as far as they stay there?
I don't
severe?
think
No,
so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They tore the barracks down, I think.
They did?
I've heard that, yeah.
That's where all the rough stock riders used to
Oh
stay.
man, I'd stay there for a month if I could.
You dang right.
That Northwest was just hard to beat. All
Yeah,
of them.
it was good.
The rodeos up there, I feel like they treat the Cowboys so good. Every one of them, you know, they just, heck, for the timed event guys, they had a big stack of alfalfa hay and a big stack of grass hay up there, and all the oats you could feed your horse everywhere you went.
Yeah,
And
I treat you right.
when they finally got around to those hospitalities, every one of them had a great hospitality. I don't imagine that they had very many of them when you were coming up. Did they, like these hospitality tents they have now?
No, it's kind of a new
Yeah,
deal.
that's a new
Yeah.
deal. That hospitality tent. It started.
I feel like Mac Altizer brought that on a lot. Every
yeah,
one of his
maybe.
rodeos had one
Yeah.
there for a long time.
Maybe he did.
I remember the free beer he had there. I don't remember the food so much, but every one of his rodeos, he had free beer for the Cowboys, and
Yeah.
that won him stock contractor of the year for sure.
Is Smurf still around?
Smurf? I don't know.
He worked for Mac. for a
Yeah,
little-
he sure did.
Yeah, I think he's still alive. I doubt if he's fighting bulls anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I doubt if he's fighting bulls anymore.
Did you guys both go to the NFR in Oklahoma City and Vegas?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah, we both-
Both,
Yeah.
both buildings in Oklahoma,
Oklahoma City, yeah.
The old
I didn't
building.
go to the old building.
Yeah.
I went. I was 17th that year. I was. I didn't get to go to the old. I was wanting to go to that old building. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, at the fairgrounds. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was it like in Oklahoma City? What was the atmosphere like, and what was the finals like?
It was phenomenal.
They loved us. I was on the board of directors when they went to Vegas, and even with the big money, if Oklahoma City would just said, "We ain't got the money, but we sure would like you to stay here," they'd have had my vote in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And but it just seemed like they thought, "Well, you ain't gonna leave us." And when all the big money was flashing, everybody thought, "Well, we better go out there." And they made a good move, I guess. But man, I like that old cowboy atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
What was it like the first time you went to Vegas? So, quite a culture shock. Different.
It was. I remember in 1985, the first
Yeah.
year they had it there, and they didn't sell. It wouldn't sell out by
Right.
a long shot.
No.
Right.
It wasn't us. We got out there, and them cab drivers and motels and stuff. They said that they laid all those people off for the whole month of December. and so they were excited we were in town. I mean, they were excited
right.
because it gave them. That's what they made their living. Driving
created
cabs
a whole
and
new
stuff.
deal.
Yeah, I mean, it was the #1 convention in December in the whole world.
Yeah, I heard it was their slowest time of year that they ever had,
Yes.
until the
become
national
harvest
finals
time.
came along, and now the whole city transforms into
Right.
Yeah,
let's rodeo. It's
yeah.
every time I go out there, I'm thinking, I just go out every few years or so, just for the heck of it, and I think it can't get any bigger, and it gets bigger every year.
Yeah.
They've done outgrown the Thomas and Mack. I think they're going to have to do something else
they
in Vegas
outgrowed it a long time ago
for sure.
They had,
But the thing of it is, when it's hard to get tickets, it's impossible to get tickets sometimes. It makes it if you can get a ticket, then it's not as enticing.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? So,
we used to always go to Rodeo days in Las Vegas, and only thing Las Vegas had was Benny Binion and Rodeo. That was it. But then it just scattered where everybody took advantage of
Yeah.
it.
Did y'all know Benny Binion very well?
Yes. He.
Well, what can you tell us about him without
I'm
without
gonna say-
incriminating yourself?
When I say knew him very well, just know of him. He was good to the Cowboys, and
very good to us.
his is she his granddaughter that married Clint?
Yeah, Mindy. Yeah.
Clint Johnson is married to his granddaughter, and just everybody had around Steve Fexer and all the guys that was around Benny Binion was that made you feel good. And then him having a ranch in Montana, that you felt like this guy's a real cowboy, So I say I know him, but I know of him.
Yeah.
He always made a big impression on me when they come out in that stagecoach and you get off in that big old buffalo coat.
Yeah.
I always
Yes.
thought that was so cool
Yeah.
Yes.
That was cool.
for some reason. And that Steve Fexler,
Fexer.
Yeah.
he I do remember going out there to the Orleans and staying before, and or the Gold Coast, and you could show your PRCA card and they'd hook you up with a room,
Yeah.
in the off season. And
The man that runs that's an awful good man too, Michael Gone. He's hard to beat.
yeah. I think he won the Ben Johnson Award last year for the
I'm sure he
Pro
did.
Rodeo or for the Rodeo Hall of Fame in
Right.
Oklahoma City. Very deserving of it.
Yeah.
Done a
Yeah.
lot for the sport.
Steve Fexer since has passed away. So.
Yeah, I heard he passed away. One time I was broke and someone said, hey, call old Steve out there. Maybe he can help you find a job. And
Yeah.
I called the Gold Coast and asked for him. And I'll be dang if they didn't do a bunch of switchboard type stuff and he answers the phone. And he had kind of a little gruff voice. He's like, Cody,
Yeah, it's him.
we don't do that. I don't really have those kind of contacts out here anymore, to get you on a job or anything. But if there's anything I can do for you while you're here, just let me know. I appreciate that, sir. Appreciate that, sir.
Well, what was the toughest broncs you guys ever got on?
Well, I'd say the best one and pretty juicy was Sippin' Velvet, but toughest one, man, could have been stormy weather.
Yeah, I don't know. Stormy High Chaparral was pretty juicy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, High Chaparral, Sippin' was. I got on Sippin' twice in one day.
Oh man, lucky dog.
I got on Sippin' Velvet. The flake fell off, and man, I was things were great, and when the flake fell off, that dude went to scatter, and it got western then. So, and Burris Johnson met me down to the end of the pen. Say, you want him back? You want him back? You want him back? I said, I looked at him. I said, yeah, bring him back in. So he just ran him right back in with rigging and everything on him.
What did the Canadians call the monster? Which one was the monster?
That was the white horse,
Was that
High Chaparral.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
What'd y'all think about old Killer Bees, that gray horse they had
Oh
recently?
man, that was
God, that thing looked
Oh,
rank, didn't it?
Yes.
That, I did, ooh.
I think I saw Will Lowe ride him one of the last times he was out or in
Yeah.
San Angelo, and it was a battle is what it was.
I bet.
Holy moly!
That was a big
That
horse.
horse ought to have honorable mention just because of what he had to go through, the way he went out,
Yeah.
And what a great horse,
Yeah, it was a good horse.
Do you guys see a lot of difference in the horses today?
Yeah, they're a lot better. When I say they're a lot better is
Even.
they all buck. They
right.
they all buck. Where we had to win on junk. Sometimes,
Well, a lot of stock contractor may have one or two good horses, and the rest were just.
And now they have a lot more.
And then they just got more good horses now.
Yeah, which is good for the good for the business.
We had
sure.
some eliminators, bad eliminators, and this looks like a pretty good bunch.
Yeah.
What about the eliminator pin at the finals? What do y'all think about that every year?
Their eliminator pin and ours was a little bit different. There's a bunch of good horses now. There are a lot of good horses. I don't know. I don't know that they're that much ranker hard to ride. Other than maybe Killer Bee. That horse was probably all there. I think Killer Bee was probably all there.
Sure it was.
But other than that, what's that horse they win every rodeo on? The big white horse.
Yeah, Virgil.
Virgil.
Yeah.
He just looks like the nut to get on.
Yes, give me that rigging right over there, and I'll try Virgil.
I will too.
Yeah, the breeding program just seems so much better nowadays,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how many of these go back to some real old horses, from way back in the day. How those genes have carried on, and it is pretty amazing to watch.
Right.
It is pretty amazing to watch the caliber of horses now, and it seems like. Am I wrong, or Cowboys taking their health a little better these days? I don't see the line at the beer stand near as long. I see them getting up and jogging and stuff in the morning.
Exactly.
Where I'm like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? But
there was always a few of us that got up and exercised and did stuff like that. But and then there was a few of us that stayed at the beer stand too long sometimes too.
Yeah.
So.
Most everybody I knew, that's where they got their workout, back and forth to the beer stand, and
That's the only place you're going to see
curling
them
them
anyway.
beers to your lips too.
Right.
Was getting their riding arm strong.
Right. Bruce, you were in they made a documentary about you. Tell us about that.
Well, some folks I had a horse called Godolphin at Cheyenne, and I went in like the last hole, and I was 89 points on him. In the mud and everything, and they these people, Martin and Ronette was their names, is from back east, and Arthur Elgort was the man that did the movie, but they said that's the guy we want to do a movie on. And they come to me and said, we'd like to do a movie about you. Yeah, sure you do. And that's about all I thought about it. And they said, we're prepared to fly you to New York and just to talk about it. Or give you, I think it was going to give me a little money. I don't know what it was. Give me some money, just talk about it. I said, yeah, I can visit about it. And, so then they followed me. Bob should have got residuals off the deal.
I think I should too.
Never too late, is it, Bob?
Me and him would be in the van. They'd be going along, taking pictures of our wheels turning on the van.
Yeah.
Just everywhere we was at, they was there. And I don't know how long it took them to do it, but it
was over a year. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, it was over a year.
It turned out pretty good, and I didn't have to. They didn't have to edit nothing, so I felt pretty good about that. Didn't a lot of swearing, nothing like that, and that felt pretty good.
Wonder where a person could watch that now.
What's that?
I wonder how a guy could watch that now
Well,
if he could bring it up.
I had a little deal of it, and I loaned it to Bruce, and he's going to give it back to me.
Yeah,
I haven't got it back yet.
The same way you got that book, Amazon.com. I think you can get it.
You can?
I think so.
It's called The Colorado Cowboy.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that'd be the way to do it. Or I still got some of them deals, but they didn't when they just made it. Butchers had somebody make it off.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that ain't right in it.
But you mentioned the book. You wrote a book, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I saw it on Amazon the other day.
Yeah,
you can still get it.
Yeah.
Called The Walk Like a Man.
Uh-huh.
What possessed you? I mean, what was the inspiration to write
that?
that?
Man approached me to do it that way. He's the one that I put in my words, but most of it was in my words, but he added some stuff to it. But just put it in good writing, I guess.
Right, sure,
But,
sure.
And I can't. You have to look and see who the author is. Can't even remember now.
Yeah.
But,
That's pretty cool.
We need to try to get some of them books selling in the museum,
I know.
Jimbo.
They're on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon.
All right.
I looked it up last night.
Sounds good.
Shoot.
Oh,
There it is.
He's got one of them right there.
Yep.
Hey,
Bruce's
everyone,
picture on the front.
everyone buy one of Bruce's books is listening.
Pretty
there
cool.
you go. They might have made me some money, but I gave them all away. Every time I go somewhere, somebody, you need one.
Yeah.
No.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And that's Gaddafi on the front of that.
Oh, yeah.
When you came back 15th at Cheyenne that time, how'd you end up doing?
What's
When you
that?
came back 15th in the short round and you had Gaddafi,
That was a picture of it.
did you end up winning Cheyenne that year?
89 points
Coming back
won.
15th and you end up winning it?
Yes, sir.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I knew Jim Davis did that in the steer roping one year, but I didn't know anyone else had done it. And it seemed like that's a pretty hard hill to climb to come in 15th to the short
But,
round.
I'm going to tell you what, that Lane Frost stole my glory that day.
Yep.
I was sitting on my victory lap horse and seeing that happen to Lane, and man, that's a terrible deal. But and his brother Chuck, he said, "You hear what happened to Lane?" I said, "Yeah, I watched it." No, he died. I said, "No, we didn't either." But he did. It just said they could have had him on operating table, and he wouldn't have made it. It's just the way it pushed something through his artery in his heart there.
Dang it. I think they also rode the bull Mr. T that day at
Yeah,
Cheyenne.
Marty Steiner did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just
Good
talked
friend
to
of
Marty
mine.
yesterday.
Yeah, we were there. My dad had roped in the short round that year,
Yeah.
and we were there. We were there that day, and I remember it. It was a pretty sad day in rodeo.
Yeah.
A lot of highs and a lot of lows that day with Mr. T getting rode, and then Lane Frost dying, and
And so that's the year that you rode Gaddafi too, huh?
Yeah. Right.
Golly, there was a lot of highs that year.
Is that the year that the airplanes crashed into the back behind the chute?
No, that was different.
Okay.
That was
okay.
different.
and we actually had someone tell us about that. Who was it? They were there that day, and
What was that? We talked about it on a podcast, but I forget who it
they
was.
found there were some dead bulls back
Oh, yeah,
there and some
killed
stuff.
some.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oswald's best bulls, what I heard.
I believe that's right.
Yeah, that was in '78, I believe.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's a historic name in rodeo. The Oswald's there. I used to work with Art a lot. You know,
Oh,
and
did
he was a
ya?
shoot
Yeah.
boss a lot of places. You know, in his
Yeah.
later years, and my dad would always tell me about Burnett and all, or not his mom and dad. You know, they were in the stock contracting
Walt
business.
and,
Yeah, Walt.
Alice. Walt and Alice, yeah.
Yeah, but I got to
great
know
people.
Art real well through the years before he died. Well, he was he was.
Did you call your dad Daddy?
Did I called him Dad?
You know, Art called Walt Daddy.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, it's always. It's nothing wrong with it, but it always struck me
no.
weird to see a full-grown man
You're right,
call
yeah.
his dad daddy sometimes. But it might be a regional thing too,
Maybe it's respect. I don't know.
for sure. Yeah, I never called my dad daddy.
I was just teasing you.
Just Dad. Just Dad. I called him by his name Rocky a few times, and he straightened me out real quick.
There
Told
ain't
me
nothing
that.
wrong with it. I asked him how Rad's doing everyone. And he said, Daddy's doing fine.
My dad and Joe both called Jim, their dad Jim.
Oh, really?
They grew up little kids, and that's
Yeah.
what everybody called him. They just got started calling him. He was always Jim. And, and they couldn't have loved him any more than they did, but he was Jim.
Yeah.
Never, ever, as far as I know, they never called him Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing some of the stuff we'll get off on here.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But anyway, well, how hard was it to quit? And what made you decide? Just injuries, or just quit
Actually,
winning, or
I got on that last horse and never really, and then I was afraid to get back on again because I'd get that poison back in me again. So
yeah, right.
I was 40 when I got my last one. How old were you, Bruce?
I went to my last chance to finals when I was 46.
46.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be some kind of record for a
Boy,
bareback
sure.
rider.
Oh yeah, for bareback rider it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean,
But the deal about that is I'd quit in like 73. I said, or I'm sorry, 91. I said, after the finals, I said, that's it for me, boys. Marvin and all them guys said, "Oh, you'll be back." I said, "No, I'm choosing not to come back." And I ran home and was done 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, and was buying and selling horses. And they had a deal, Brent LaRue, an old bareback rider, had started a deal called Rodeo Rose Productions, bareback riding and bull riding. And so I started going to some of them when I was in my 40s, and had qualified for the circuit finals, I guess, when I was at 46 or something. And I thought, Marvin Garrett and them guys come by and stopped by to see me and said, "When you going to crack out?" And I said, "Right now, enter me." And they started to enter me, and I jumped in with Marvin and Mark that year. And that's the year they had the plane wreck, and they made finals but couldn't go because they was hurt, pretty bad hurt, you know. And Sandvik had traveled with them all along, but he didn't go that year. So him and I went to the finals that year, and I just happened not to travel with them on that flight. They was going to Cow Palace, and I drove instead of going there playing. And they didn't show up, and Larry went to finals, and I went to finals, and that year at the finals, I really concentrated on riding good, getting there, and I handled that. But I got to finals, and I forgot to ride good there. But I got on the practice horses before went to finals, but I rode pretty good, and I had a horse that was probably pretty decent from my last one. I probably could have got the job done, but Mark Gomes had a big bay horse, and he made an outstanding ride. He won the bareback riding. I got bucked off and hung up. Only time I ever hung up in my life was that time. But so I didn't succeed, but I succeeded in getting there. So that was my goal. Is so.
That has to be a record for bareback rider, doesn't it? 19 NFRs for
That's
bareback.
a record.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
That has to
Clint
be.
Corey went 18.
Yeah.
He was right on my
And
tail.
Billy Atbauer went 21 or 2 in
Hey,
the
he
saddle
don't
bronc.
count. That guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a different event. Tell me, that's not quite as hard
I
on
bet
you.
he could go on whatever he wanted.
Well, probably.
He's a hand.
But man, that's amazing. 19.
And I think he started riding bareback horses in the beginning, but what a winner. Yeah.
You mentioned practice horses. How do you practice and get ready for something like that?
Well,
Where'd you go to find a buck and shoot?
Well, I had a little building that my it wasn't very big,
Mm-hmm.
but I could get on horses in there. And but that particular year, I went to the finals at 46. My barn had burnt down by that time, and I leased a building right there in Greeley, and Pete Hawkins, he came back and he got on some with me, and we run some in. I wanted to get on the old eliminating type, and not necessarily the nice ones, but I'd try to get on whatever he put in there for me, and it didn't work, but I had a good idea.
Yeah, right.
You mentioned a guy a while ago, probably one of the most colorful characters in probably all of rodeo history, be honest with you, old Larry Sandvik.
Oh, yeah.
What a did you guys do any traveling with Larry back in the
Oh
day?
yeah,
Yes.
I traveled with Larry, and he traveled with Mark and Marvin. So
Yeah.
we jump in with them every now and then. So
Well, what's your favorite Larry Sandvik story from traveling with him?
I got a good one.
Yeah, I want to hear it because I've heard some good ones. I used to work with him. He used to work for Doug a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
But he rode better than everybody else. He didn't have to work as long. So
We was truck. I don't know if it was Marvin's truck or a van or might have been Gary Hempstead had a deal or something. But anyhow, we was in a deal, and whenever whoever put the oil plug in after they got the oil changed, they didn't put the tighten the plug, and there's oil all over. We had no oil in our rig, and what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got to get to a rodeo. I'll take care of it. He took a plug out of somebody else's rig, and we wrote a letter. We wrote a note on the don't start your truck. We got your oil plug. And we got it filled up with oil and back on the road again. But that's a true story. He could survive, that guy. And I've asked him several times, could you make this or can you make that? He said, I can make anything you want. We got a neighbor. My wife and I are living at Fort Laramie, Wyoming now. And neighbor had a little girl that wanted to ride a horse. Well, she needed a saddle fitter, and Larry come up with stirrups to just go over the saddle, and she could sit up there and ride that little horse with that saddle. He's creative. He can do whatever he wants to do. So
I have a this deal it says Larry Sandvik bareback rigging. It's a bareback rigging, and he straps on a beer can. Yeah. It's at the house. So, yeah, I used to work with one of his old traveling buddies. Did you all know Chainsaw?
Oh yeah, I know Chainsaw. Shane
I used to work with Shane Call a lot, and we lived together for quite some time. And he had an old van out there he never drove, and the battery went out of my pickup.
Yeah.
And so I took Chainsaw's battery out of his van, put it in my pickup, and left. Well, when I got home to Oklahoma, there was a message on the machine from Chainsaw, not very happy. He said, my God, when me and Larry catch up with you, we're going to kill you, you little crummy sucker. And boy, howdy, I was roping at Guyman, and I saw him across the way over there. I was like, oh, man, I better go deal with this right now.
He done forgot about it.
No, Chainsaw hadn't. Larry didn't give a damn, but Chainsaw, he was still pretty red about the deal. So I gave him $150 for a new battery right there, and I was like, I didn't think you'd ever come back to get that damn van, Chainsaw. I'm sorry about that.
I got some neat pictures on my phone I can show you right now. Chainsaw, Larry, and Chainsaw, Marvin, and who else come with him? But they're just at my house the other day, just before we left, and them guys are all right. That whole bunch.
Yeah, good bunch of guys.
Yeah, I got acquainted with him when I first moved down to work for Doug, building those playgrounds with all those guys.
Yeah, Dugans.
Yeah, he had an office directly above the Cadillac bar. I was only 18 or 19 years old, and they had a 24-hour card game going in this office all the time. Did y'all know Gary Galt over there? Well, he owned a casino in Northside.
I knew who he was.
In that place I was staying, and yeah, that's how I got acquainted with all those guys. They'd sneak me down the back stairs of the Cadillac every now and then. And the bartender saw me, she'd kick me out. But
what do you guys think about the money today, especially at the NFR? The money.
That it takes to get there?
Well, no, just that you can win once you get there.
I think that's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. It just, they tried to create that a long time ago, but they got it created. They wanted a sudden death, and it's sudden death now, whether they know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys just thought you were riding for some big money when they moved it to Vegas.
Well, I mean, it's all relative. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I bought my first van. It was $6,700.
Yeah.
How much does a van cost you now?
I don't know if they
70
make
or
them anymore.
80,000.
Yeah, at least.
At least, yeah. They're driving them Sprinter vans now. They're $100-something thousand.
It's all relative.
Well, those vans they got now look pretty comfortable to drive
Yeah.
compared to some of the rigs I saw some of you guys pull up in.
Yeah.
Growing up, no doubt about it. We just had an old Capri camper. That was about the best we ever had.
Yeah. Well, them Capri campers are pretty nice, especially if you use a bareback rider. You jump in with one of those bulldoggers. They weren't gonna let no bareback rider drive.
Bruce, you put on some schools too, didn't you? Some riding schools?
Yes, sir. I used to put on, maybe 6 a year.
Really?
And
While you were riding or after you retired?
No, I was still riding
Okay.
rodeo, and I'm pretty impressed by Lyle thinking he would put them on with me. But I started them, and then later on when he come along, him and I would rodeo together, and we put schools on together. And he might show up even if it wasn't advertised for him. He'd show up. He just loved putting on school.
Yeah, I grew up in Kansas, and they used to have one in Abbeville.
Yeah.
And they'd all sleep in the old school there
Yeah.
or something, you know, everybody that was in that school.
But it's a rewarding deal to see some of your students be successful. I've had several of them go to the national finals that attended my school, and that makes me feel good. Marvin came, but I think Marvin knew how to ride before he came. He won going to a school he wanted at a scholarship at school or something, but he came to one of my schools. Jeff Hart, he went to finals. He came to my school. Several of them, but the whole deal was they was winners before they came. It just they needed the edge knocked off them a little bit.
When'd you grow your first mustache? I feel like that's a Bruce Ford trademark.
It was Jim Ford. It was my dad to start with. He had a big long one, handlebar deal, and I don't. Whenever my peach fuzz grew whiskers, I guess it took me forever to get whiskers going, and but I could touch my ears with mine for a while and had waxed up, and then got to where they get my boy when I eat, and so I cut her down, and I've shaved it off, and I look like a little old kid anymore. So I don't think that kid's under there no more. So I just left it on now.
He gets ID'd to buy snuff when he shaves it off.
Right.
You guys have you got a boy and a nephew that kind of carried on the Ford tradition.
Actually, two nephews.
Two nephews? Okay.
One
I don't have all my facts straight. I should ask
Jared was
Jimbo.
a bull rider. He went to finals several times in bull riding. Heath went in bareback riding a few times, and he went on to be a director, bareback riding director. And my boy went several times, and he got in there with Will Lowe and Wes Stevenson and Tom McFarland. Them guys, they had everybody needs a little something, even if you do ride good. And they called them the
Wolf Pack, wasn't it?
Wolf Pack.
Yeah.
Wolf Pack, and it was kind of the same way. Bob and I show up. They knew that they was in trouble. You know,
they were like, "Oh no, look at that rig pulling in. That's gonna be some money.
Yeah,
There's gonna be some money leaving
They
in that
always
deal."
knew what we had.
yeah. Oh yeah. You go to look at them guys. They go down the list and you knew you had their number already, didn't you?
Did you guys turn out very many horses when you knew? When did it come along when you knew what you drew before you got there?
Oh, it always
was.
Yeah.
I didn't know if
And
maybe Bruce
myself, I didn't turn out very much. I prided myself on being able to place on horses that no one else could place on.
That was the whole deal to riding good. If you can make a bad one, a good one, you did something. That was that was the whole feather you had. If you could win on something that they never went on, you know.
Yeah, it's in '82 when I was runner up the world. I placed at 100 rodeos, and that was one.
Wow.
Yeah, he set some records right there.
Yeah. One of the things is, it bit a tricks. I had a bag full of tricks that if I had a horse that actually didn't buck, I mean, you do all kinds of things. You know, you'd put spiders on them, you'd shape them, you do all kinds of stuff. Whatever it took to win, is what I wanted to do. So
they always talk about binds in a bareback rigging. What's a bind in a bareback rigging? What do you do to get your binds? Because it seemed like the guys I was living with, that rode bareback horses, they were always working on the binds in the rigging.
Yeah.
Adding some leather in it, taking some out, filing it down, taking some sandpaper,
a lot of that's fighting your head too.
Okay.
So.
There's a little point on the back of your rigging, and you just want to have your hand in there where it's kind of snug, and you just kind of go in and out and get in there. Their binds are just saying they want to hang on, I guess. I don't know what the binds meant, but
it's always crazy to me when I watch those guys put their hand in the rigging. It looks like they bring it in, bring it out, and then they got to do it a couple more times to even get the dang thing out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally, I feel like, even when you got your hand open, it's in there.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, it's in there.
I think Bob and I rode in, if you couldn't just go like that and get your hand out.
Yeah, you just pop it out of there.
Something was wrong with
and them guys today, I think they're that way too. So,
is there anything illegal in a bareback rigging that people don't do anymore that they used to do?
Oh, well, they used to tie it in there with tape and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
With the old ragged riggings, they'd reverse the tape on the outside of the rigging.
And then they had a wire where they could pull it.
I think that's right.
Yeah. There was all kinds of fun little. I mean, if you ain't trying, you ain't cheating. And if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Bruce, did you go to the rodeo they had at the White House for Ronald Reagan?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell us? Well, I don't know. It was, I guess, in Washington, D.C., Ronald Reagan.
I shook Ronald Reagan's hand. Louis L'Amour shook his hand. It was an amazing deal.
Can you tell us about that rodeo a little bit? Because I've been trying to find somebody that actually competed in it, and we have one scheduled one of these days with the Bulldogger out of Kansas.
Joel
Edmondson, he was there, but I haven't actually talked to somebody that was there. I mean, it sounds like such an interesting rodeo
it was
that they
amazing.
put on.
They had the regular rodeo, and then they had a rodeo for the president, and they had security around the president and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think maybe they suggested we didn't take kids with us, but my family went with me, and the rodeo itself, I got along great at the regular rodeo, and then but the other one I didn't have that great a horse. T.J. Walters and J.C. split it, and then they had a big get together for us on the lawn of the White House, and that's where Louis L'Amour, Malcolm Baldridge, and Ronald Reagan was all there. And Ronald Reagan, we got to shake his hand, and I'm going to tell you what, it makes your heart pump when you. I don't know why it would. I thought, nah, it ain't been no big deal. But it's pretty exciting, I thought. And I understood why they didn't have the kids. I had my kid with me, and the security guards had to leave the president to watch over my kid, you know. So it was a wonderful deal.
Louis L'Amour, that would have been the guy I'd want to meet.
Oh, that was neat. Yeah. I shook his hand too. That was great.
I wrote I wrote
Red.
I read. I didn't wrote it, but I read it.
I'll get you straight.
Yeah.
He went to school in
I read
Texas,
every Louis L'Amour book ever written. So I've got a huge collection of Louis L'Amour books. So he was, when I was in high school, that's who I liked.
Well, there was a bunch of them too.
Yeah. Oh, there's.
I wonder how many he wrote.
It's
Any idea?
it's over 300.
I bet.
Yeah.
I think he was an Okie.
I don't know.
Yeah, they got a picture of all the famous Okies in the Oklahoma City airport, and Louis L'Amour's right up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
What do you guys think about Rocker Steiner? He's most controversial figure in rodeo right now. Me and Jimbo like him. We've met him. I think he's a good kid.
I love him. He's a great kid.
He really seems like he can ride good.
Yeah, he rides good. He lets it all hang out. So
yeah,
that's what bareback riding's about.
I can't figure out where all the controversy comes from the rodeo community. I guess it's his hair
jealousy.
And maybe his attitude.
It's jealousy.
Yeah, because I mean, this guy looks like the real deal to me if I've ever seen it. You know, as far as a bareback rider.
Yeah, it's just like you said, people are kind of jealous. Look at Larry Mahan; he was a lot different than everybody else.
Yeah,
but he went on and did what he wanted to do anyhow.
Some people say he's wild, and I didn't know a cowboy growing up that wasn't pretty darn wild. That just all the information wasn't out there all the time like it is now.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, he would be mild and
I
he'd be mild in my day.
He got bucked off or something, and they caught him saying a curse word in the arena at the NFR. But I mean, I don't know a cowboy that isn't mad at himself. When something goes wrong.
I think he snuck in the beer stand at Pendleton and
I did too.
Oh, I did too. I snuck in the gym. You ever been to Diamond Gyms there?
I've been to quite a few places.
The silver saddle there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I was like I was 18. I snuck in. I snuck in there and I got this big Indian put me up in there. I got on in that saddle.
Yeah. Well, what a story.
Oh yeah. The owner of the bar, we became real good friends after that. He said no one had ever done that before, and then he said they're always trying to do it now.
I feel like bareback riding's in a good place right now because they're having a lot of standalone bareback ridings, like these rigging rallies or whatever they're calling them, and
There's a lot of good bareback riders too.
And they're showing it on Yellowstone, and I just feel like bareback riding's never had as much publicity as it has now. You know, back then, did they have huge bareback riding jackpots like they're having now?
No, not.
I mean, they count for the PRCA for the most part, but they're just a huge jackpot, you know, bareback riding only.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, it wasn't hardly no bareback riding jackpots.
No, it's.
Bareback riding, they had to figure a way to create new entries for a long time because there's a low on entries about all the events bareback riding was.
Right, yeah.
You mentioned meeting President Reagan earlier, Bruce. There was this guy that used to babysit me that met President Kennedy, and y'all might know him.
Boy,
Old Buddy Heaton's his name. He used to babysit me when he got out of prison.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even kidding you. I thought everybody was like Buddy Heaton, you know, when I was a kid. I thought those were regular people.
Yeah.
But
you're like Buddy, got to hide under them whiskers.
He didn't have whiskers when I knew him, but he just got out of prison when I knew him. He was living with my grandparents.
Oh.
They let him move out of the halfway house into my grandparents' house, and it was wild times, to be honest with you. I just didn't realize it until I got old and like, I can't believe Buddy Heaton was my babysitter growing up.
Hey, I'm going to take an opportunity to tell you how rodeo has changed. What I think is everybody want to take God out of rodeo, and God's a big part of rodeo anymore. Everybody
Big
in the rodeo business is the more you talk to, the more you realize that, hey, I've been living life wrong. I need to live it for the Lord, you know. And that's a plug I'll give for the Lord today.
Well, appreciate that, Bruce. Everybody needs to pay attention to that, too. Let that soak in for just a minute.
What would you guys do different if you could do it all over again? Anything?
I think that right there, I would put God first.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And I think Bruce can say that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we always, there it is. I mean, I just put God first, period.
Right. we always had enough of it. Our family had raised us right, enough of it to be wrong. We should have just did all right. Instead of, if you're not right, you're either in or out. And we was kind of on the line there.
Yeah.
What was, shoot, I'm drawing a blank here. I just had a great question for him.
I'm going to ask Bob this because I don't want to ask Bruce because he wouldn't name himself, but who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of bareback riders?
Whew. Well, I'd have to have Bruce on there. I think I'd have to have Marvin, and I'd have to have Casey Fields.
Need one more. Need four.
Need four.
This fourth one gets
Alexander.
about everybody.
Joe Alexander.
Okay. That's a pretty good list.
That's pretty good four.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask Bruce who his Mount Rushmore. I know he's not going to put himself on there, even though he deserves to be on there.
Yeah, he's going to.
Okay, let's hear it, Bruce.
Okay.
I think Joe rode better probably than anybody. Gary Tucker rode better than anybody, but I don't think Joe liked rodeo. I love rodeo. Yeah. That's the whole difference.
Yeah.
And Marvin loves rodeo. I think you got to like what you do, and he was just a natural good at it. But I like to watch bareback riding and be there when the bull riding was over. I wanted to help my friends and be involved in the rodeo business.
Yeah.
You know, Wayne Herman was a good bareback rider. It seemed like. I feel like I've kind of forgot about him through the years. He's kind of in an era.
Oh,
I think you went head to head with Wayne Herman some, didn't you? Back.
Oh, I'd just been my friend all along, and I still visit with Wayne a little bit on the phone. We was under a contract up at Sidney, Montana, and he was just up the way at Williston, I think, or Dickinson, I guess, and. I tried to get a hold of him when I was up there, but he was a great cowboy.
It always impressed me. He had McDonald's for a sponsor, you know, like he had the biggest sponsor in rodeo. No one had a corporate sponsor unless it's tobacco or you know, a beer sponsor or something.
Yeah.
But
he did that. It was a way of him giving back. They took care of him when his son had got cancer.
Oh, okay.
And the McDonald House did. That was his way of giving back. So
I always wondered growing up because I couldn't believe that someone was actually sponsored by anybody, much less McDonald's, you know, and that's good to know that was his way of giving back to the McDonald's house. They've done a lot of great things.
Yeah.
They've done. What's the most rodeos you've ever went to in a week, Bruce? What's the most or 10-day period or something?
Man, I know in the 4th of July you go to 3 of them in one day.
Yeah.
Cody, Redlaws, and Livingston. Add 6 more days. That's probably 9 rodeos in a week, maybe.
I think I went on the 4th, the run of the 4th, and I'm not sure exactly how that cuts up, but I went to 12 rodeos and placed it all 12.
Yeah, you could do that. Always Cody and Belfast the same day.
Yeah, and placed it all 12.
I mean, Mobridge and Belfast.
Yeah, Mobridge.
A lot of people don't realize it, but once you get towards the end of July into August, man, the rodeo season really heats up.
I love that.
There's just so many to go to, and there's all spread out. There's the Northwest cranking up.
And then you go into the Northwest,
Yeah.
you know, when you get later on in there.
I love that Northwest. I know we talked about it a minute ago.
The thing about it was you go to Ellensburg, then you had to go back over to Walla Walla that night. Man, it was a dirty, dark burger. Ellensburg was beautiful in the daytime. Walla Walla was plumb dark. Dark.
Yeah, they're all cool rodeos up there. Ellensburg, really cool. Just
Yes.
you could feel the rodeo history up there. I mean, you just it would make my hair stand up, you know, when I'd walk in Pendleton, just thinking about all the greats that were there before us, and they're currently, you know, just some of the greatest that I'll ever see in my life. You know, just
Well, and Pendleton's one of the oldest rodeos too.
definitely one of the oldest and most prestigious.
Yeah.
I don't know which one's the oldest. You know, Bernal, Utah claims it. Prescott claims it.
Yeah.
Pecos claims
Pecos
it.
claims it.
I always kind of went with Pecos because it was big steer roping rodeos. So
I ain't going to tell the story, but Vernal, Utah, come to mind.
Oh.
Me and you and Buck going to Vernal.
And Buck,
Buck Taylor.
I don't remember.
We left him in jail, and you and I went to Vernal on 1st and 2nd.
Oh yeah.
You remember now when he was driving and said, and they pulled him over, ticket said, this is just going to ruin me.
Oh, Randy Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that Buck.
You remember it now?
Yeah.
well, shoot, I need to get some advice from you guys. I'm not going in the bareback riding business ever, but there may be some young kids out there right now. Could you give just some youngsters coming up some advice? Because bareback riding's never been bigger than it is now. More money involved, best horses involved. The equipment's better for your body, I think. And just what would you guys suggest for a young guy coming up who wants to get involved in the bareback riding business?
I would say find a good traveling partner.
Mentor.
That you're get along, same thoughts and same attitude as far as the traveling part. And other than that, just learn the basics and keep putting them to work.
Yeah. Well, if you want to be a bareback rider, you have to remember it is the toughest event in rodeo. But with the horses they have now and like you say, the equipment and stuff, it's kind of like the Green Beret of rodeo. I think is a bareback rider. So
You got to be tough.
yeah, you got to be.
If you're not tough, you better not even think about it, really.
You don't want no part of it.
I mean, just the tape you guys use on your arms and stuff. I can only imagine just the pain while you're driving down the road on your groin, sciatic
I can
nerve.
straighten my arm almost now. And I can.
Is that arm longer than the other one?
No, it's shorter actually.
Really?
I know some guys that they keep their arm tucked like this.
Yeah.
I feel like from now on, this is how they walk. This is
Yeah.
how, and they'll shake your hand, but it doesn't really get past this position. A lot of old bareback riders. You got to be tough.
Yeah.
Maybe find a school to go to. Some
yeah.
practice horses.
Well, make sure it's a good school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want to. There's a difference in practice and practice is made perfect only when it's perfect practice.
Yeah.
That's goes for anything, right?
Yeah,
That's goes.
exactly.
I wish someone had told me that growing
Yeah.
up, Jimbo.
Me too.
I done a lot of stupid stuff in the practice pen for no reason. It didn't help me out any. But that's just the way,
Live and learn.
That's the way it goes. You got a lot of wisdom when you get older, I feel like.
Yeah. Wait till you're 50 years old before you figure that
Yeah.
stuff out.
And then when I'd be up somewhere, those dollar signs in my eyes would get in the way of everything else, you know, if I had something good going. So
Yep.
anyway, well, guys, we sure appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking the time.
We very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been our
Me and
pleasure.
Bruce got to I came to his house yesterday, and we got to visit and telling stories and calling buddies and things like that. So this was pretty good. So
Yeah,
it was
it-
neat for us.
Well, we wanted to get right from the horse's mouth, and you guys are my era. I mean, you're my heroes from when I was growing up. Just so you know, I'd get the Sports News Annual every year, and
Yeah.
there y'all be. We'd watch the national finals. There y'all be, and it's just an honor for us to talk to y'all today. And
You'll get a lot more phone calls when this comes out. Too.
probably,
Old buddies calling.
probably. There, and you didn't tell any bad stories on it, because no one's gonna
Right.
call you mad. You told some stories
Probably
on
have
them.
2 or 3 of them call and cuss me for bringing stuff up.
I've had a lot of my old traveling partners call me and not happy with me. Some of the stories I was really telling on myself, but they just happened to be there at the time, so they got involved in the story. And anyway,
We want to thank Malk Brothers, too, for letting us use their
Oh, yeah.
facilities. And,
Yeah.
Good people,
man,
great people.
what a place this is.
Yeah,
Everybody
hey.
needs to come check it out.
If you ain't been to Mock Brothers, they need to come here.
You haven't been
Yes,
nowhere.
This is,
they
this
got
is the
hats,
place.
boots, clothes, saddles. If they don't have the saddle that you want, they'll make you one you want.
I
So
don't tell you,
anything.
I wish you'd see what they made me. They made me 2
Bible
Bible
covers.
covers. And like I said, we got a deal at Fort Laramie called The Gathering. And my wife and I are giving away a Bible case holder. And they made one for me, custom made. Here they are right here. If this thing had pictures on it, look what they did here.
Wow.
Can these guys do some work? And I think, what's this, 2 or 3 days notice? You didn't have much notice for that. Look at that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When is the gathering?
Yeah, it's at
July
Fort-
19th.
July. It's coming up.
Yeah, Fort Laramie, Wyoming, July 19th.
And what is it? And can anybody go? Can they buy tickets
we'd
or
like
what?
to have everybody go, yeah. I'll put a picture on your phone and you just send it to whoever you want to.
Okay.
Together.
You got
That'd
it.
be great.
You got it. Well, one of the best Cowboys to ever come out of Colorado right here. One of the best Cowboys to ever come out of Texas right here.
I know. He's the first Cowboy to ever be in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. Maybe, are you still the only Cowboy?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few. J.D. Yates.
Oh, yeah, I've been some good ones, but
We got Alan Keller. He's from Colorado.
Alan's
Oh,
from
they,
there?
I don't know much about.
Well, I don't know if they're in it or not. I'm just mentioning some good names
Oh,
from
they-
Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Yates boys, or dad and son. Yeah.
And the boy, holy moly,
I don't know.
Trey Yates is the combination of the dad and JD and Dick and JD. He's very deadly. He's very deadly with a rope.
That's
so,
a pretty neat combo right there.
Yeah.
Father and son to stay together that long.
yeah, they're some of my heroes, no doubt about it. Some of the best there's ever been, just like you guys. So we appreciate y'all coming on, and we'll see everybody the first and third Thursday every month. Me and Jimbo changed up the schedule, first and third instead of every Thursday. So be looking for the new episodes first and third Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
This
it.
was fun.
Appreciate it.
later.